the world is not one way, and so models should not be one way. Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I'm Alicia J, and I'm here with Erica L. Ayala in a really cute green hat, by the way.
Hey, thank you. Representing Tulsa Oktoberfest chicken dance comes from Tulsa. There you go.
I mean, listen, already starting the show with a fun fact, okay? But listen, we've been bringing you WNBA everything, and after an exciting WNBA playoffs, we're back and we're going to be breaking down, guess what, some college basketball. Really excited that that is on the way. Unfortunately, we are going to start off with talking about Chloe Kitts and her torn ACL and what that means for South Carolina. So just hated to hear that, by the way. But we're also going to give you a little update on the NWSL as they inch closer to the playoffs. And then we have some awards. We have to give out some awards since it's the end of the WNBA season. Some WNBA superlatives, actually, now that the season is done. So we have that and so much more. And of course, you want to stay locked in with us, because if you're not locked in every way, okay, below, and then we're also going to have a QR code for you that you can get locked in just directly right here. If you're not locked in, you're going to not get all of these, women's sports, everything that we're talking about that's on the way, college basketball season, and all of that. And why would you want to miss that? So make sure that you lock in. So Erica, listen, it was announced that Chloe Kitts is going to be out for the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. And we just are hearing so many torn ACLs in women's college basketball. That's another conversation that we definitely have to have in the future. But people are looking at this and they're saying, what is the impact going to be for the Gamecocks when it comes to the loss of Chloe Kitts this season?
Well, Kitts is a player that has been with the program for a little bit here, but we really were able to see her shine last season. And we know it was a great season for the Gamecocks. They did fall to UConn in the championship game. But, even when there were times where the Gamecocks were still struggling and trying to, close out games and narrowly getting wins at times, it was Kitts that was able to keep the team afloat with elevating her game. She played a much different role last season than she did in years past. So when you think about losing a player like that just based off of last year's roster, you can see that it's a big name for the Gamecocks to be out. Then you add that they are without Malaysia Fulwiley, who transferred, and you start raising questions about the Gamecocks, again, based on last year's roster. But we also know that for a lot of teams, including South Carolina, Dawn Staley and her staff have had to make adjustments. You have players that graduate. You have players that transfer. You have players, of course, like Kitts that are injured. And so, I know we're going to talk about the AP poll, but, this is still a Gamecocks team that I'm expecting, Alicia, to be competitive this year in college basketball.
Yeah, definitely competitive. I mean, you have players, and we know Coach Staley, she gonna have a plan A, B, C, and D. I'm never gonna bet against her at all. And when she is recruiting, she knows she's kind of planning for all of these scenarios with the players that she selects or that sign with her, the ones that they go after, I should say. And so we have players like Joyce Edwards, is she going to be stepping up in different ways? From December 15th to February 2nd, scored in double figures, 11 out of 12 games, including a 5-game stretch of 17 or more points over ranked conference opponents. Even Angel Wilson said this about Joyce. Her IQ is something that's going to take her far. I think she is already becoming a pro at a young age of a freshman. To have that patience and that IQ right now, and understanding how to read the defense and how you're being played, that is what you don't learn probably until you're in the pros. And so big words from Asia Wilson on Joyce Edwards. And then you also have Medina Okot, from Mississippi State transfer, 6'6". definitely, presumably, would start as the center. Averaged 9.6 rebounds for Mississippi State last season, and that number rose to 10.1 average in SEC games. So, not to say, I mean, obviously it is a blow to the team to not have kids, but when you look at the team that Dawn and her team and her coaching staff has constructed, I feel pretty strong. The only thing that makes me a little worried is that now you're down to a 10 woman roster, right? And so when it comes to, even we were just in the WNBA season and we looked at teams that didn't necessarily have the best of health. And so that makes me a little concerned when you look at the overall roster. But other than that, I know that this team is strong. I mean, you mentioned the AP poll. They were second in the AP poll, the first AP poll that came out: UConn, South Carolina, UCLA, Texas, and LSU. So, yeah.
I mean, and they're going to have to figure it out. Unfortunately, we've seen injuries really decimate college rosters. If we just speak about the NCAA, we've had teams that in the past handful of years have had to forfeit the rest of their season with injuries. So as much as we've been talking throughout the WNBA season about injuries, I mean, I wonder if there is a mechanism that the NCAA can look into as well with regard to these seasons. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I want to come back to the AP poll. As you mentioned, South Carolina in that 2 spot. UConn takes number 1. They are, of course, the reigning champions. So I think that makes a lot of sense. When I look at this AP poll, I'll tell you, if I look at the top 10, I like Maryland and Duke here. And sorry to the South Carolina fans, but the reason that I like them and where they've landed early in this season and in the first poll of the season is that both of those teams played South Carolina very tough, including a Duke team led by Carol Lawson, who we now know will be at the helm for the next Olympics for USA basketball. But I just love to see teams like that, be a part of the conversation. I think also looking at Oklahoma, I mean, I do live in Oklahoma now. I thought they were a tragically underrated team from a national perspective, and to see them climb up here as well. But some teams I think maybe that will be surprising. Notre Dame, they had a little bit of a slide last year. They come in at 15. And then, of course, there is USC dropping 13 spots, Alicia. And you have to think a lot of that has to do with knowing that there's no Juju this season.
Right. No Juju, no Kiki. There's a lot of, I guess, in Juju's absence for sure, like rebuilding that has to be done there. But I would also say the same of Notre Dame. They had a lot of players depart. There was also a little bit of controversy around the team, I would say, in previous seasons. So definitely, I can see them kind of moving up in some ways as well, just based on when we see them play more. I think there's just a lot of questions when it comes to both of those teams not having the players that they had in the past, and especially with USC in that specific area. But man, I mean, when you look at UConn, there's another note that Emma just dropped here. It's the 13th time the Huskies have started this season on top, and the first time since the 2017-18 season. It will be really interesting to see how they operate without Paige on the team as well. I saw there was all these kind of like memes and posts going around when they referred to her as an alum, and she was like, an alum is crazy, or she said something like that. And it is crazy. It's crazy from my perspective to think of her as being an alum.
That's how it goes. But, the alum will get to see, AZ Fudd operate. And Sarah Strong.
Yeah, Sarah Strong.
Sarah Strong, man. She had a wild, and I mean that in the best way. I mean, sis was putting up big time numbers. I think showed that she's ready for big moments. Of course, that's what you expect from the type of player that is recruited and then ends up going and staying at UConn. But I am very excited to see what happens with Sarah Strong.
Well, I am excited to see what happens in the women's college basketball season. It's going to be a good one, that's for sure. Always is. But something else that we have that is always good is our guarantee of the week presented by AT&T. Now, Erica, this week, the guarantee of the week is that Angel Reese is her, okay?
Period.
She announced last week that she'll become the first pro athlete to walk the runway in the Victoria's Secret fashion show, which is so phenomenal. She continues to raise the bar higher on things. Angel is always announced, I don't know if you feel this way, but Angel is always announcing something as either the first or something that she is being a champion. I mean, I promise you, Angel Reese is never going to stop announcing these things because she has, I feel like her whole calendar is full for the next year already. So, but she did announce that she will be walking in the Victoria's Secret runway show. It's the first pro athlete, as we said, to walk the runway rather. Some people on social media though, and this made me very angry, Erica, have been acting like she's mid or average, saying that Victoria's Secret models should have unattainable beauty, which what is that even? A number of WNBA players are also doing modeling as well, including Angel, like Rakia Jackson, Cameron Brink. They're also like on the model, kind of like spectrum, I guess, of things. I don't even want to say there's in the notes it says model worthy, but that's one of the things that kind of makes me mad about this whole thing is what is model worthy?
Yeah. And I also think that, listen, I'm old enough to remember the supermodel era, right? Where a lot of these events that we're talking about now were built quite literally on the work of, the Tyra Banks, and those of her ilk. The way we use or the way we see fashion now, I think that it's more open in so many different ways. We can talk about body shapes and sizes. We can talk about gender or gender identity. We can talk about the artistic, just the fashion and the way that clothing is being represented. And a part of that is also knowing that these high-end fashion events are also integrating into other things, whether it's movies, television, and yes, sports. So, I mean, the thing of is or isn't a model, I just don't even understand it, because I feel like we're beyond that when it comes to even how we think about, again, these big tentpole events and how they're utilized for an opportunity to cross promote. And I think this is exactly why Angel Reese makes a lot of sense. She is already, mind you, someone that has modeled. So what does it mean when you tell someone that they're not model worthy when they're already modeling? Like, what do you mean?
Right. And to that point, Erica, Reese said, I model already. So it's like adding to the resume. I'm young right now, which I'm not mad at either.
I know.
So I'm going to do it while I'm young. And that's another thing that has also changed, though. Mm-hmm. You see a spectrum of people in the model world of all ages, like you said, sizes, gender identity, all of those things. And so the world is not one way. And so models should not be one way or whatever the unattainable beauty that they were speaking of. So I don't know what this is about, but what I do know is that Angel is going to rock that runway like she always does.
Yep.
And she is going to continue to break barriers when it comes to all of her goals, dreams, and everything. I mean, she continues to do it all the time, and she's doing it here. So I don't know what y'all talking about.
Right.
Angel finna be on that runway, and you're not. So
right, that part. I mean, it's happening. It's happening, folks. So lean into it. I think Angel is stunning. I got to interview her during her draft year, and she had it was giving Whitney Houston. It was giving Tyra Banks. It was giving model. And we talked about fashion, and I've known, at least since then, if I didn't know before, that this is something that is something that she enjoys. And again, I see it from the crossover appeal. I also don't pay any attention to people who have critiques about her ability or credentials as a model. So like you said, Angel Reese is her. We're guaranteeing it.
Yeah, period. And that's it on that. But of course, we know people are going to talk, but they always going to talk. Now, speaking of talking, while we were talking about the WNBA, excuse me, and going, in on everything there, major soccer was happening. The Kansas City Current set a new NWSL single season points record, while the UWCL returned last weekend in full force. So there's so many things going on in the soccer world. Let's just start with what we just talked about, and that was the Current setting a new NWSL record. What is the significance of them doing that, Erica?
Well, I mean, at this time of the season, it's huge because they have a lot of momentum going into the playoff, the playoffs. And it's 5 weeks remaining. Our colleague Sandra Herrera has a great article, you should check it out, going over the power rankings. They've and with the win, they clinched the Shield, which is basically the regular season title. And so to have that locked in, to know that you are the team to beat, I think also probably strategically, while you don't want to take your foot off the gas, once you know that you've clinched, once you know that you're playoff bound, I do think that if you have players that maybe have minor or even more significant injuries, maybe you can think about resting them or reallocating them and their minutes in different ways. You can maybe try things that you would only have during practice time and try to execute different things. So again, I don't think that's the same as taking your foot off the gas, because you can't do that. 5 weeks is still a decent amount of time. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of time. Or excuse me, that was from a few weeks ago. Excuse me. I'm reading the wrong article. But basically, when they clinched the Shield and you have this opportunity to really focus on things, you have the opportunity to go in again with some momentum. I just think it's huge. I think it's huge for this team. And what I love about the NWSL in the last handful of seasons is that we're seeing different teams be able to do this. Around this time last year, it was the Orlando Pride, a team that people, doubted. They gave a media gift away, and it was like, oh, you see us now? And I was like, okay, y'all better do that. And saw them all the way to a championship. So I think it's really great. They've won their last 4 games. They have only lost 2 all season. Man, you want to talk about momentum. But that being said, as you've talked about already, we've been talking about the WNBA. We know that there are teams that have started hot and that didn't start so hot, and they ended in very different places come the postseason. So while it is an opportunity, as I said, and a lot of the other things, even leading up to, as I was looking at Sandra's, one of her articles, it's still, you have to stay sharp, because now everyone's coming for you. You are the top gun. You are what everyone is comparing themselves to.
Absolutely. Well, somebody who is not comparing themselves to anyone but themselves, which I love this right here, was Alyssa Thompson. So Alyssa Thompson transferred to Chelsea from Angel City earlier this year. And she was recently asked, do you think that there are any players in this league that you won't be able to beat in a foot race? Okay. And she answered, I don't know. I bet on myself. Okay. A lot of the time. I think I'm pretty fast, so I don't know. And listen, I just want to say that is a testament to all of us. Bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. Okay, Alyssa Thompson.
That's right. I know that's right. And I mean, here's the thing. I get sometimes why our colleagues in media will ask those kind of questions, because sometimes you are looking for those clips. And also, like, what is an athlete supposed to say? Like, yeah, I'm gonna go with me. I'm gonna go with me all the time.
Right. As you should. I will say this though. I just don't feel like in not recent years, but like years past, that athletes really felt like they could say that kind of stuff in the media. Like they would be taken wrong, or that people would think they were like stuck up or arrogant or that kind of thing, even though there is a little bit of that in sports and it's fine. Like, and so I don't understand why people would have an issue with it. But I love that we're in the era of where women playing sports or in sports are saying exactly how they feel about themselves, as they should. Like, I'd be saying the same thing if I was her too.
Listen, I mean, isn't there a pretty iconic athlete that has a quote that is, "I am the greatest. I knew so even before, or I said so even before I knew I was," or something. See, I messed up the quote, but that's Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, in that confidence of saying that you're the greatest even before you truly believe it. I mean, call it manifestation, call it positive thinking, whatever you want to call it, but that is what athletes do. Visualization. It's part of what you have to do as an athlete to have supreme confidence to step up in high pressure situations. And so unfortunately, though, when you happen to be a woman who's also an athlete, a lot of the things that we see in society make those things harder to say without critique. And quite honestly, it makes it harder for other people to believe you when you putting them on to what you were really about. So I think there's a little bit of that, honestly, that I wish we could shed. But like, again, good for her. Like, I don't know why we talk about other people. I know I'm fast, so I'm going with me.
Listen. Now, Erica, another player that is certainly fast is Alexia Putellas, and Champions League started last week. Now, Barcelona is on a revenge tour. They lost in 2025 to UWCL title. They lost the UWCL title rather to Manchester United. And in the first game of Champions League, they beat Bayern Munich 7-1. And I mean, listen, I'm really excited to see this because anytime anybody is on a revenge tour, that means we're going to get some really good matches, and that's for sure.
I mean, we just talked about, right, betting on yourself, supreme confidence, and sometimes that confidence comes from knowing that you have a goal that you fell short of. We talked about it with Angel Wilson so much in the run up to what was the Aces title this year, and we talked about it even with Minnesota, who they didn't get to the finals, but we know that hurt heart space, as Courtney Vandersloot, who plays with Chicago now, she talks about hurt heart spaces. They open you up to really digging deeper. And so, yes, Putellas, looking for this win, gunning for it. I love it. And again, sometimes you need that chip. You need that, again, hurt heart space to really propel you to the next level.
Well, there was also, in addition to some good soccer, right? Some good football, there was a really cute moment between her and a fan. So we wanted to roll that.
Takes about.
Imagine being that fan. Imagine being that fan. Like,
I mean,
those are the moments that you live for as a fan.
It's true. It's true. I mean, listen, I've had moments with musical artists where, of all of the thousands of people that are in the crowd, now whether it's true or not, don't nobody correct me. I promise you that I locked eyes and we were like, okay, we see each other in this moment. We're vibing. We're having a good time. And I think it's great when, as a player, you see that and you receive it. But when you are in that moment and you as a fan know that one of your faves is like, okay, we're about to share this together. That's so dope. And again, it's part of the fandom, knowing whether it's like wearing wigs because your favorite player has dyed their hair pink, for example, or doing little things like that. I mean, I love it. And I think athletes really appreciate that as well. So good for her to find that fan and have that moment.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons why you go to sporting events, is to have moments like that. And those moments change lives. Like, there is no telling what that is going to inspire that fan to do. Or I mean, you just don't know how it will affect you. I remember stuff from when I was little in sports as well, so it all shapes, and it's one of the reasons why we love covering sports and we love watching them. So speaking of a fangirl moment. I definitely had one in an interview that we had recently. You know, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know much about the mountain biking, you know, the sport of mountain biking before going into this interview. But after, and the way she schooled us in this interview, definitely someone that you should be paying attention to. Check out this interview that we had with Kate Courtney. It's one that I know that I will always, you know, kind of cherish because it introduced me to a new sport that I really didn't know a lot about. And that's one of the reasons why we do these interviews right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. So sit back and take a look at this interview with Kate Courtney. Please welcome cyclist Kate Courtney to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Great to meet you guys.
Great to meet you too. Now listen, as somebody admittedly who has hardly ridden a bike in my lifetime, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I do like it when I have though. I was just absolutely fascinated with your story as I was reading it and just getting ready for this interview. And like your first cross-country mountain biking world championship came back in 2018 at the age of 23 years old. And then this year, you won your second world title at the UCI Mountain Bike Marathon World Championships. Like, I mean, you just keep raising the bar in your sport for sure. But how do you feel like you've grown since the first time, the first world title versus the second one?
That's a very good question. And I would say in many ways, there were 7 years that separated those two titles. And during that time, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges. And I would say some moments in which I moved away from maybe my strengths as an athlete, what brought out the best in me on the race course. And then I would say in this latest chapter, an ability to really understand and utilize those strengths and to put myself in a position where I could leverage what makes me unique as a rider, what I love about the sport, and bring all those things together in a really great performance at the Marathon World Championships.
Well, I know you talked about those ups and downs, and I know while I was reading, you said this is one of the hardest and most unexpected races of my career. Can you just talk a little bit about those ups and downs and specifically how they propelled you in this hardest race that you had?
Yeah, I think first I maybe will give a little bit of background on how I ended up racing it in the first place. I typically focus on cross-country mountain biking. So that's the Olympic distance. It's a bit shorter. Our races are about an hour and a half in length and involve usually 5 to 7 laps of kind of a 3 to 5 kilometer course. So it's kind of like the track racing of mountain biking. And that was really my focus this year. I was focused on those World Cup events and on that shorter distance. And in May, I actually broke my wrist. And that is kind of the worst time that you can break your wrist in the middle of our season. And I was going to miss 3 World Cups. I missed national championships and was out for a good period of time during the summer, having wrist surgery and starting this prolonged recovery period. And during that period, we actually have a big summer break in our calendar. And so I was going to be back right during the summer break. And my physical therapist suggested, he's also my strength coach, Matt Smith, suggested racing a very historic long distance race in the US called the Leadville 100 mountain bike. And it's this big challenge. It's kind of this mythical historic race in the US mountain biking community because it's a mass participation event. So it's something that amateurs target as like a big challenge of the year. And we race on the course at the same time. And so I ended up refocusing and being able to do that event. And that was very unexpected. I had a great ride there. It was a 7-hour event. It was the longest event I've ever done. And it set me up to then target the Marathon World Championships, which was on a very similar course, a lot of climbing at altitude just a few weeks later. So it was 2 events that I never planned to be at, but that really brought out the best in me as an athlete. And I would say really stoked that curiosity and that involvement and engagement with the process because they were so unique and so different. And I felt this freedom and almost lifting of pressure because it was outside of my normal expectation and outside of the events that I've typically targeted. And that that brought something new to my riding that I think really freed me up and hopefully will also help me bring that mindset back to the shorter distance.
So you pivot, you do all of this, you come through these mental, really hard mental, I don't even want to say exercises, but literally you're doing all of this to get to this point that you can be in, and you win this race. You actually break a record in the race, finish with a 6 hours, 48 minutes and 55 seconds, right? You're not used to these long races. You have done all this training. You win this race. What were your thoughts when you went over that finish line after all of that?
Before you even answer, 6 hours on a bike just blows my mind. I'm somebody who loves to ride bikes. I grew up riding bikes around my neighborhood in New York all the time. And I used to push that bike to the limit. I'd ride around the neighborhood for hours on end, but it was like a couple blocks here, you get off, you talk, you chat, you get some ice cream, you get back on. Like 6 hours on a bike, I couldn't even fathom. Like my butt hurts thinking about it.
And I already said I just haven't been on them, so I couldn't even imagine 6 hours.
Yeah, I will say that's one of the cool things about cycling is I think in some ways, like maybe that distance and that particular event is not the most relatable challenge in the world, but the feeling of being on a bike is pretty relatable. Like most people have ridden a bike, whether it's to school, to work, to hang out with friends, recreationally. And what I take joy in and what I find on the bike is often very similar, right? It's that sense of freedom. It's pushing yourself. It's this vehicle for adventure and exploration and connection and all those things. So I do think this is a very extreme version of riding a bike, but it is a lot of those same feelings. And I think for me, like these ultra endurance events, I find to be equally mental and physical, because not only is it a long time to be riding and racing, it's also a long time to be focused mentally. And I think that's what makes them such a great personal challenge and such a great learning experience, is that you have to find all these little tricks to keep yourself in the moment. If you are 30 minutes into that race thinking, I have somewhere between 6.5 and 7 hours to go, that's a pretty tough thought. But if you can think, okay, in this section, this is what I'm focused on. I'm eating, I'm pedaling, I'm, hitting a certain number on this climb. I want to be in this position and I'm getting to this aid station. And then at the aid station, I'm going to do this and switch into this mentality. You start to really construct both a kind of physical, a nutrition plan, but also that mental plan that can keep you really in the moment until that finish line. And I think, in both of those ultra endurance events that I've done, like those finish line moments are so powerful, because right until that last minute, you're really, really focused on the task at hand. And it almost like comes as this shock and surprise and elation when you actually do cross the finish line, because you have to be so committed to every single step that gets you there.
I like that you use the word endurance multiple times, because that leads me to my question, because this guy has an endurance like I've never seen. The fact that he continues to do his own stunts blows my mind. But you got to appear in a commercial, a promo with Tom Cruise to promote the 2028 Summer Olympics. Excuse me. I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan, and I am kind of like a geek when it comes to the behind the scenes of making those movies. And for people who are unfamiliar, when Tom Cruise is jumping out of a plane, like he's actually jumping out of a plane, the fact that these one's Paramount, soon to be Skydance, if it hasn't gone through yet, don't quote me on that. They have to take out massive insurance policies on him because he refuses to use a stunt double. So how cool was that? Emma, correct me, you're officially a Skydance company. Yes, so how cool was that to like the biggest action hero, one of the biggest action heroes of our time? I mean, the Mission Impossible franchise is a gold mine. It's so entertaining. And you are in a video promoting the 2028 Summer Olympics with him.
That was a pretty surreal experience. Honestly, just fun. Like, I think sometimes as athletes, we lose sight of these kind of dream moments coming true, and these just really unique, cool opportunities that you never could have predicted coming out of doing the thing that you really, really love. And so being asked to be in that piece, first of all, was a huge honor. I could not be more excited for a home Olympics and for the opportunity to be involved in some way in promoting it and in helping tell the history of our sport, which actually started in California in the 60s and 70s. So yeah, I think that was like a dream come true to begin with. And then when I found out who the A-list celebrity would be, it blew my mind quite a lot. But yeah, being on that shoot, I will say like my biggest takeaway and one of the things that has stuck with me from that experience is, you know, I was not sure what to expect from meeting Tom Cruise. That's a pretty crazy experience. And from the background of what his week looked like, right? He was shooting Mission Impossible. He had to take a huge international flight overnight. He jumped out of a plane at 3 a.m. I think he probably got a quick nap and then he had to come shoot with me, right?
Right.
And he showed up to that set and was obviously the consummate professional, but had joy, like authentic joy in what he was doing. And I think for me, that was just such an instructive moment of oftentimes living your dreams involves a lot of challenge. Like that schedule, any of us would be exhausted trying to manage what he does on a daily basis.
Especially the jumping out the plane part.
Oh my God. Yeah. Not alone. That's a week for me.
Try
Right?
jumping on the plane.
That feels like a week to like
that in itself is enough.
build up to, recover from. And that's just from 3 to 4 a.m. for him. But yeah, it really reminded me that what brings us to these passions is joy and doing the actual thing. And it was really cool to see someone who has obviously refined his craft for many, many years and still takes joy in even a very small, silly production that's not at the level of a Mission Impossible stunt, but that hopefully is meaningful and that hopefully impacts our sport and brings some attention and visibility to the women in sport that I think will be pretty exciting to watch in LA 28.
6 hours on a bike.
I was just looking up some of like what that entails. I've done some bike riding in my day in New York City, and longer bike rides in just the neighborhood, even though I did that too. But like you like packing your own granola, having people be able to help you, you know, have the food and the fuel that you need. That's wild. Also, I loved the story about the Olympics. I was wearing my Olympics hat yesterday. I'm a hat girly. I love my hats. And being at Paris 2024 and seeing that video that she was talking about, and also again seeing Tom Cruise do some stunts in the arena, it was really dope. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about with Angel Reese, that these are opportunities that we're starting to see people bake in now to major events, sporting events, but also launches of films and all kinds of things. And I think it's super cool when you can have people that are at the peak of their craft be able to honor, respect, appreciate, and then also work with each other. Like that's super cool.
Yeah, I think it is too. I love just how we're moving, you know, just within women's sports and sports in general. I think it's just beautiful to see. And I, for one, was just, like I said before, I was just happy to have this interview, and I can't wait to dive into more sports like this because there's so much, and I think there should be, but there's emphasis on kind of like the basketball, the, you know, football, volleyball, and there should be. But I also just love highlighting, you know, mountain biking and things of that. So can't wait for more of those interviews.
I love it.
And if you do not know about Kate Courtney, please go dive in, go to her socials. There's a lot on YouTube. Just go and take a look at what she's done in her career. It's been phenomenal. It has inspired me to get on a bike.
Come on.
Okay. I don't know about 6 hours now, but I will be on a bike because number one, I do remember what it felt like. When she said that, I was like, hold on, you have ridden a bike before and it was fun. So inspired me in that way. So definitely if you see a 6'6" girl with curly hair on a bike, that's me. No, probably not, but it could be.
Let's go. I'm here for it. I can't wait. We need all the hashtag content.
Yes. Well, we'll see. I'm going to do like a first ride without doing any content to see. But Speaking of content, we have some fun content for all of you right now. Let's do a little 2025 WNBA superlatives. That's a hard question to say, or hard word to say, superlatives.
Superlatives.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking about WNBA. It's not like we aren't. There's a CBA deadline coming up and beyond, but let's have some fun right now and just jump right in. So when you think of the players, or when you think of not even the players, but when you think of the season, what was the biggest surprise?
Ooh, I mean, there's a lot of things. Like, I kind of characterize this, I always be remixing things. So I was like, what was something I did not see coming? A few things. I think the real answer for me is New York exiting in the first round after winning a title in 2024. Did not see that coming. I honestly didn't even see Emma Mieseman coming. Like, sis told us in Paris she wasn't trying to come over here because of the prioritization. And so for New York to work that magic, but then to not have it pay off the way they hoped, at least in year one, with Emma, if they'll be able to get her back, was very surprising, and not what I think a lot of people saw coming.
Yeah, for me, it was the Lynx going out in the second round. Like, did not see that coming at all. I mean, we saw them all season and how kind of dominant they were. And I know that there was like injuries involved, all the talk around the referees and et cetera, but did not see that coming for sure. That was one of the things for me that stood out. But when you talk about New York, Brondello being fired, did not see that coming either.
Woo, child.
Yep,
did not see that coming. And, over at CBSSports.com, I wrote about Jonathan Coleman, what he said about that move. I can understand maybe from a broad perspective where I think the Liberty is trying to go. And it just seems like they're still within a championship window. So who are you going to get that can do better than Sandy Brondello? That's who's available. So I guess that's the big question, right? Biggest question in the offseason. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's not on our list, but it could be. And New York might be up there as well for me.
Well, certainly a lot of drama around that for sure. But speaking of drama, who's the biggest drama queen?
See, again, and I remix this a little in my head because it just helps me. But I think we have the same answer. I remixed this a little bit to like most likely to spill tea. And I mean, after that exit interview, we already know it's Napheesa Collier.
Queen Fee. Queen Fee for sure. Like, that's the only answer to this. And it's the best kind of drama because it's what needed to be said. It's literally what is going to, I feel like, change the CBA talks all the way around, because not only were the players showing that they meant business, but that statement was, this is exactly what we want and we will not back down, and this is what is happening. And so it's not drama. People usually equate drama with something bad, but it definitely is great in this case, because the drama surrounding the CBA is what needs to happen for the players to get what they truly deserve. Truly.
Yep. So we shall see how it all pans out. But yeah, we agreed on Queen Fee for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about that. There's a lot of talk going on around the WNBA, and that moves into our next superlative, and that is the biggest chatterbox.
Ooh, see, now this one is interesting because if I think from a media perspective, right, and players who you can just ask them one question and you'll get a nice, good, lengthy, hefty set of quotes. I feel like there's a few different players, right? And for me, I think Neck is always a good person. I think you can usually, get a lot from a player like Tosh Cloud. So when I thought about it, those are the types of players in two very different ways, because like what you're going to get from Tosh and what you're going to get from NECA are very different. But I feel like just like the depth of an answer that they can give, that's who I thought about.
See, I thought about Angel Reese immediately.
Ooh,
because Angel did have a lot of things to say after the season. Actually, it wasn't even after. It was
right.
It kind of overlapped a little bit.
I mean, yeah. cost 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I guess, of a basketball game.
Right. Which that's a whole nother story that we already talked about. So go past podcasts about that. But what she said, you know, whether you like it or not, what she said about the organization sparked some change, I hope, in that organization, because she hasn't been the only one to be a chatterbox about the Sky over the years. And so, but when I saw that chatterbox, I said she was chatting.
She was definitely chatting, and she got some chat back too.
Yeah, and she's one that I would say is great for this next superlative, and that is the best tunnel fit. But for me, and I'll say what mine is out the box, and it's also one that I interviewed all the players on the orange carpet that were at all the all-stars on the orange carpet, and a lot of people said this, but Olivia Nelson-Ododa is somebody who doesn't get enough recognition for her tunnel fits. They are on point every single time. Okay. And she is a fellow tall girl. So, you know, I'm always repping for the tall girls, but she is always on point. Always.
I remember that interview, and I agree with you. I had to do some schooling. I was like, okay, y'all put me on. Another person though, that was mentioned a lot. You were there, so I think you know where I'm going with this. To the point where sis literally wore bags of milk. And that is Skylar Diggins. Skylar Diggins, man, listen. Again, if you want to talk about just icons, you want to talk about fashion being an art form, Skylar definitely taps into all of that. And I respect what she be walking out in.
I do respect it too. She puts a lot of thought into it. And listen, in that milk one, for example, leads us to our next superlative, because there was a couple memes on that milk one. I'm not gonna lie, but I wasn't mad at it. Okay, I wasn't mad at it. But who's most likely to become a meme?
Oof, a meme, a viral, a moment. I think, again, we agree on this one. And honestly, it might have a Skylar connection, because one of the funniest moments for me was Stud Buds and the conversation around what T said to Skylar in that heated exchange. Out the window. I mean, it's got to be Stud Buds for me. Natisha Heidemann and Courtney Williams had way too much fun in the best way this season.
And the memes were everywhere. The posts were everywhere. And, this All-Star was one of the best WNBA All-Stars I've ever been to. I would probably say the best for me, just the ones that I've been to. Right. And a lot of that was around the Stud Buds, because at every different corner, they were doing something to highlight what it really was like at All-Star, but also just being hilarious. And so we saw so many things that whole weekend and beyond. So it's got to be the Stud Buds.
Even gave a lighter moment to Kathy Engelbert, who could be a meme for all kinds of different reasons. But it was a positive spotlight in that sense. So yeah, Stud Buds all the way.
Certainly needs a lighter moment, but we won't go into that right now. Apparently, we definitely talked about that on past episodes too. So definitely go take a look. But we talked about memes, right? And this kind of goes hand in hand. So you could probably say Stud Buds for this one as well, but funniest player.
Oh man, there's a lot of really funny players. I know a lot of people are going to think of Sid Colson. She's done stand-up. I mean, what she's been doing with Teresa Plaisance for a few years now is huge. But, some people who I find funny, and I mean, one, I really don't think she tries to be funny. She's just so deadpan. And then the other, just her energy is so contagious. But in covering both of these teams, a decent amount, Seattle and New York, I have to say, someone who cracks me up is Tosh Cloud. Hilarious. Oh, I see Emma in the chat talking about Stewie. Stewie is also very deadpan, and she can just say something and just move on with life, and you're just like, wait, girl, what? I need to pick my jaw up off the floor. But that's not who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Skylar Diggins. I love her delivery. She just attacks and then keeps it moving. I remember I was doing something at All Star asking players, you know, what's your best travel advice? And Sky just said flying private and walked away. Like she was like, conversation over.
No, she has so many moments, and she is just her. And that's what I love too. She's just like, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna say how I'm gonna say it, and that's it.
And then that's it.
When she was doing the electric slide on the Lynx logo, hey, she was getting it. I was like, okay, I'm not mad. I love that's my kind of carrying on. Okay,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, and we talked about it. I don't get down with Notre Dame like that, but she could change my mind.
Definitely can. I would also put in for an honorable mention. Maybe not funniest player, but funniest team has to go to the Aces. They are hilarious.
Oh my gosh!
As a whole, together, they are funny.
They are so unserious.
So
it's time to get real serious, like about winning that championship. But yeah, you're right.
But even like right after, it's like we're going into Aces mode. We're doing funny things. We're getting the tambourines out, and we're all.
I don't have to. I mean, you're gonna have to add that in post.
Right.
Hit my notes. No, they're hilarious. You know, the Pride Cakes. Asia Wilson is hilarious. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Funny. Today she had the Monica wig on, and
yes.
She was looking good though. Those cheekbones was highlighted by that short hair. I said, okay, Asia.
Get it. Let's go.
Well, honestly, this Asia is the person I picked for the next one for sure. Most likely to go viral for a play.
I mean, between the do-rag, the tambourine, the candy after the game, again, the cakes for the queer for her queer teammates. I don't know. Asia's got it all. Like she really does have it all. So yeah, I think that's I feel like everything that we just said, how do we not pick Asia?
And not only all of that, Erica, but just her play, period, is most likely to go viral. I mean, we saw that amazing shot that she had that, I mean, it was plastered everywhere and it was also, I can't remember who said, but it was poetic with the 2.22. You know, and she just has these viral moments for her play and for her pink wigs or whatever the case may be. And I love to see it. We're going to be seeing that for years to come. Thank you to the basketball gods for that one. That's for sure. But that was a little bit of fun that we had there, Erica. And, you know, we definitely are going to continue to have fun here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. Don't forget to lock in with us in every single way, because we're going to be talking all about women's sports as we always do every week right here on We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T.